right. Well, this is a news episode that we're talking about, and we're going to be covering something that broke today. It involves John Carpenter, and he was at Fantasia Film Festival accepting the Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was given it looks like a masterclass interview. It's a 1-hour segment you can find on YouTube, but there's a little bit of news that we wanted to expand on here, and that involves his his contributions to the Thing reboot that is being done by Blumhouse Studios. So he didn't give up a whole lot, but it does sound like he's going to be involved. We don't know in capacity yet, but if it is any capacity, we can hopefully think that it was something akin to the 2018 Halloween reboot, directed by David Gordon Green, in which he was a part of. He did some of the music, but if anyone who has watched that movie, you can compare that to the original Halloween, and you can see that the atmosphere, the way the characters react, the script, everything feels like this is a John Carpenter film. So really excited to see now what happens with the reboot of the Thing. Now that both it's in, I think, a really good hands with the Blumhouse Studios. They put out a lot of good horror, major horror on, relatively low budgets, and John Carpenter is involved. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited about this new movie. What do you guys think?
It sounds very interesting. I mean, one of the things we were talking about, the prequel, and one of the things I thought was really cute that I found out by watching the prequel that I did not know about the John Carpenter movie is, if you remember in the beginning of the movie, there's a helicopter chasing a dog, and the Norwegians, whatever they are yelling something that our heroes can't understand. And then the chopper, I think they have to shoot the chopper and it goes down. In Swedish, what they're actually yelling is, "That's not a dog, it's an alien, kill it."
Yeah.
Right there at the beginning of the movie. You just don't see that in a film. And they mentioned that in the prequel, and it did happen in the original, so that was really cool to see. So I'm interested to see what else he's going to hide, what they're going to sneak into it.
It's called Frozen Hell or
Frozen
something
3?
like that. The new, which the story it's based on, which they're using this story from, like, as they're saying, thanks bloodydisgusting.com for helping me out as well. Basically, they mentioned that it's definitely going to be a throwback to both the original RKO film and John Carpenter's The Thing, because it's gonna, that's what people kind of want,
right?
It's not like, oh hey, and so I'm optimistic. It's all depending on when they start filming this and stuff like that. What John Carpenter's, I believe he's going to be one of the consultants or producers involved, but I'm not 100% sure, but he's going to be involved, making sure, I really like this scene, or hey, maybe, no, don't put that scene in. I didn't like it, John.
Well, I hope they don't go heavy
not
with,
John.
I hope they don't go heavy with CG on it.
It should very least be a Carpenter movie. I think, he although he had come out on previous interviews and said that CGI would have helped, fix some issues that he had in 1992. It was an interview on outpost31.com, which is kind of like the unofficial Thing meeting place. But yeah, as you can see with the 2011 Thing, the use of CGI I thought was poorly handled. The creature looked plasticky. There was no real texture. It didn't even move right. And it just seemed, I don't want to call it lazy filmmaking, because if you read, there's a really good interview on Outpost 31. I definitely check it out. I'm going to put it in the show notes. They talk about camera techniques and what John Carpenter and Rob Bottin came up with to get the creatures to move in a certain way, kind of like an unnatural, inhumane way. And I think that went a long way to not only define the creature, but just unnerve audiences. Not only do you have this kind of grotesque looking thing, but it's moving in a way that, unsettles you really. And I hope that even though we're in the age of CGI, and pretty much now you can texturize it so it almost looks like, real skin. I hope they go back to, the 1982. Let's just figure it out. And everything is organic and real as possible, because that really shows up in the end.
Yeah, we had mentioned there was a very similar movie with Lance Henriksen called the August Star or something like that. It took place on a ship, and it's very much the same thing. I believe that was done completely organically with only maybe one small scene in CG, and the qualities of CG can vary greatly. And as someone who's working in film, I see a lot of people really wanting to say, hey, I want to go back to the old school practical effects and make something really cool this way, because it's another layer of skill that you're adding onto your film. And on top of that, even if the film is a bust, people will often say, yeah, but the character you made, that creature, that was awesome.
Exactly.
So you still have another chance at immortality.
Yeah. How many bad movies have we seen with just really awesome creatures, right? It seemed that they threw their budget on this creature, but it's still memorable and watchable, right?
Yeah. Right. No, and I agree, because, hey, your cast could be fine or not, but the best thing that's in the film could be either the creature or alien, whatever you have as the antagonist, the bad guy, the villain, whatever it is. That's why, I always say, if your movie, if you go too much CGI, it's gonna, kind of overshadow everything else.
I think audiences are savvy enough that they can tell the difference between something that was done in CGI and something that was maybe handcrafted. Or I know they went for a mix in 2011. I know 2011, the thing was, it was a major letdown, not only from the CGI perspective, but also the story perspective. I mean, I think that was something that is a little bit overlooked, although the whole movie is heaped on praise. The story, as far as the jump off in 1982, the way that John Carpenter crafted that scene where you see the dog walking into the room, but you don't know who is in the room, but you just see somebody turning. I thought that was the jumping off. That is the jumping off point, but you don't know who is infected. You just have a feeling like something's about to go down, because this dog just walked in, and we know this dog ain't right. And now it's making first contact with humans, right? Yeah, they didn't have that in 2011. I had to rewatch the movie a few times just to make sure I didn't miss it. They don't have that jumping off point, that point where you say the creature is making its move. It sort of just does it off camera, and one by one scientists become infected. So I hope that whatever's involvement, John Carpenter makes that point of you want to show the audience something without showing them. That was one of the strongest points of his film was you're watching it and maybe you don't know exactly what's happening. The director does, but you don't, and you kind of just like that tease throughout the whole thing, even all the way up to the end where you don't know who's infected, Childs or McCready. Yeah. So I hope we don't know what his official involvement is. We know he's going to be involved, but let's hope that whatever he does, the end product comes out looking like Halloween 2018.
Right. Yes, one of the things we're kind of old guys here watching horror movies, and in the old days there was the we found something, we've pissed it off, let's examine what we've done to it and what has worked to fight it off, and can we satiate the monster, hide him, lock him up, or do we have to destroy him, and so forth. And a lot of movies these days simply jump to, suddenly there's a monster attacking us, we have to fight back. And that's all it is that one part of the movie. And John Carpenter didn't do that. And sadly, too many movies these days missed out on all of that background. And as a kid, I took notes. I paid attention to when was, as you say, the jumping off part. When did they say, this is where we could have changed it? Where did the zombies get in at? That's what right. So I do hope that they go back to that style of filmmaking with this.
It was filmmaking with patience, really. It was, I know exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to take it, scene by scene, line by line, and, I'm going to tease you all the way up to the end. And, it was almost a slow burn. And in watching the thing, how many action pieces were there really, right? Probably just as many as Aliens, but you were within in its throes the whole time, right? You were gripped, edge of your seat, right? So yeah, let's hope more news comes out later on. We can find out what kind of capacity. Hopefully, it's like a producer or a consultant or something of that. But high hopes, and this was excellent news, and we'll definitely share more as we hear it.
Yeah, once the news come out. And talk about movies. I'm going to talk about 1, 2, 3 real quick films. Movie that's been long awaited for the last almost 2 years is finally coming out. The New Mutants, which is the new spoof off of the X-Men films. Coming out August 28th. Also, we have the long-awaited sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent and Bogus Adventure. Thanks to music coming out on August 28th. Just to give you a heads up, I would check out Bill and Ted's for the, reminiscing parts. And, of course, a movie that hasn't been seen or talked about much. Well, it is a cult favorite. A movie called Beastmaster is about ready to get a remake.
Hey, nice.
Oh, man.
In the way, and it's now going to be directed by the original director because he now's got the rights to the film. So he's going to be redoing his film sometime in the near future. So at least those are like 3 things you can look forward to in the near future.
I want to look forward to Beastmaster being redone, but there were certain shows put out in a very special age, special time, to do with the special effects that were available at the time and the budgets that were usually accompanying these sorts of projects. And it's just hard to copy that now. Buck Rogers in the late 70s there.
Yes.
The original Battlestar Galactica, Planet of the Apes, and Beastmaster. They had a certain feel to them.
They did.
A certain look. And I want to say it's really hard to copy that. I'm going to segue here for just a moment. I was just watching a bit about a movie that came out a couple of years ago, and I think it's called The Sex Witch. And it's about a woman who's a witch who casts spells on men for love and so forth. But it's shot in that early 70s style. The makeup, the camera, the lighting. If you saw the movie, you'd think you'd flipped on the TV back to the 70s.
Nice.
It's just exactly done that way. And if they could do that with Beastmaster, it'd be awesome. I don't think they can. I want to know if they're going to reboot Beastmaster. The kid that was the prince in it, are they going to bring him back to let him be in it?
That is a good question.
I'd like to see that.
And this is the thing. It's sort of like, just like how the news about The Thing popped up. It's similar to, hey, Beastmaster. Even though, yes, hey. Some of those sequels, you could say, okay, why? Oh, I understand why, but please take your time and, at least get some kind of plot.
That was
some movies,
That's
it's
the problem
like,
with the Halo movie.
Plot.
That's the problem with they were trying to make a Halo
just like the movie Frogs.
Frogs had a plot.
Yeah, or just like. Yeah, I know, but just imagine someone remaking the movie Frogs. Hey, Anthony, remake Frogs. You'll have fun with it.
A lot of those 70s animal movies, they had a very specific look to them.
Yes.
Where did all the people go? Day of the Animals. All those sorts of movies. They had a very specific look. Giant killer bunnies are almost at the town. Yes. And there's a pair of legs in the background.
That's right. Or
look closely.
My favorite, of course, we'll go back to the 50s. The Killer Shroods. Come on. Who can't love those little dogs trying to eat you humans?
Okay, what about The Deadly Eyes, which was about giant killer rats, which were rat costumes on dachshunds?
Wow, we are just like totally off script.
Yes, we are.
That's
But
life now.
these are the
But that has
movies
Scatman
some
Crothers in
people
it.
should
so.
watch.
Giant killer
Watch
rats.
these films. And
Yeah.
in some ways, they could be, some people who are the filmmakers making these films saw these films and thought, hey, I want to kind of make a movie similar to that. Be like The Thing or Aliens or
I wish I could
anything
make a
like
movie as
that.
good as Aliens or a Thing. Be a high point of my career, that's for
But
sure.
that's just the fun part about all these different movies. Never know when they're gonna get remade, rebooted, or
So see all these movies
yeah.
that Al Omega
Yes.
and Joe
Yeah,
Flynn
go
mentioned.
ahead and
Yes, you should watch them all.
And if we have any more news about The Thing and John Carpenter, we'll definitely going to be able to share it. So, that's all the time we have for today. Stay tuned for more guests, more
bye guys. Have a
theater,
great weekend.
more podcasts. Stay safe and healthy out there, guys.
All right, you too.
Enjoy your
Be safe.